Hollywood shines bright under the spotlight, but no light is strong enough to reveal the darkest corners behind fame. Behind the glamour lie stories few dare to tell, battles with alcoholism that once glorified idols fought in silence. These were stars who reached the peak of fame, only to fall hard under the grip of addiction, quiet, ruthless, and unrelenting. Some found a way back and rose again with pride. Others were lost forever in the haze of alcohol. This list reveals the 50 most severe cases of alcohol addiction in Hollywood. And once the secrets begin to unfold, you won't be able to look away. 1. Anthony Hopkins. His icy stare as Hannibal Lecter burned into our minds like a refined nightmare. But there was a time when he drank so heavily he couldn't remember filming scenes and nearly lost his entire career. Now, 86, Hopkins is a living legend who once admitted, "Without alcohol, I'm finally myself." 2. Anne Margaret. The sexy meets innocent icon of the 60s. She had both Elvis Presley and Hollywood at her feet with her beauty and talent. But after a serious accident in 1972, she spiraled into alcoholism and all but disappeared from the screen, unable to control herself. Now 83, she's sober and lives a private, reclusive life, rarely appearing in public. 3. Glenn Ford. A classic face of cowboy and noir films, he embodied the quiet, strong man of an earlier era. But behind the spotlight were years of heavy drinking that cost him nearly all his close relationships. Glenn Ford passed away in 2006 at age 90, living out his final years in solitude, rarely speaking of his golden days. 4. Drew Barrymore. That adorable little girl from E.A.T. became the face of childhood for millions. But Drew fell into alcohol and drugs so early she entered rehab while still a kid. Now 49, she's living proof you can rise from the ashes, though she admits, "I've never been fully free of addiction." 5. Peter O'Toole. Audiences adored him in Lawrence of Arabia, where his ocean blue eyes led a generation into the desert. Yet O'Toole once drank so much he destroyed hotel rooms, landed in the ER, then went right back to acting the next day. He passed away in 2013 at 81, having quit alcohol nearly 30 years earlier. 6. Andre the Giant. Whether in The Ring or in The Princess Bride, his giant frame and unexpected gentleness captivated the world. But he once drank 119 beers in one night, trying to numb chronic pain and deep loneliness from a rare condition. Andre died in 1993 at just 46 due to heart failure. 7. David Hasselhoff. The TV hero of Baywatch and Knight Rider, he was the ultimate heartthrob of the 90s. But the world was stunned by a video of him drunk on the floor, eating a burger filmed by his own daughter. Now 72, Hasselhoff says he's sober, but still struggles to rebuild his image after that infamous moment. 8. Cary Grant. The timeless icon of Hollywood masculinity. Elegant, charming, magnetic in every shot. But behind that perfection was a man battling emptiness and alcohol addiction, who even tried LSD in therapy. He died in 1986 at 82, after spending his later years in quiet retreat. 9. Mel Gibson. That burning stare in Braveheart and his fearless directing style made him a Hollywood king. But alcoholism dragged him down a DUI, racist outbursts, and nearly total blacklisting followed. Now 69, Gibson is still in the film world, but the alcohol-stained past still shadows him. 10. Richard Burton. With a thunderous voice and haunted eyes in Who's Afraid of Virginia Woolf, it was hard to tell if he was acting or just living his truth. He once drank 3 liters of vodka a day. Directors had to shoot entire scenes in one take because there was no second sober chance. He died in 1984 at 58 from a brain hemorrhage, after decades of rehab attempts that never quite stuck. 11. Carrie Fisher. She was Princess Leia, the fierce, witty, and fearless icon of Star Wars. But in real life, Carrie drank and used drugs so heavily she couldn't even remember which scenes she was filming. She passed away in 2016 at age 60 from heart failure. 12. Charlie Sheen. From sitcom king in 2.5 Men to one of America's biggest scandal magnets, Charlie once blew tens of thousands of dollars a night on booze, drugs, and parties until he was fired at the peak of his fame. Now 59, Sheen claims he's been sober since 2017, but that wild image still clings to him like a permanent shadow. 13. Dudley Moore. The charming, pint-sized British actor made audiences roar in Arthur Playing, ironically, a lovable alcoholic. Sadly, that role mirrored his real life. Moore's drinking eventually cost him his ability to play piano. He passed away in 2002 at age 66 from a rare degenerative brain disorder. 14. Ben Affleck. Oscar winner, Batman, and leading man of the 2000s. But Affleck has been to rehab multiple times and was once so drunk he collapsed at a bar while directing a film. Now 52, he's open about his recovery, admitting, "Shame is what keeps me from relapsing." 15. Dennis Price. His aristocratic cool made kind hearts and coronets unforgettable, but alcohol turned him into a shadow of himself, homeless at times, taking tiny roles just to get by. Dennis died in 1973 at age 58 from heart failure and complications from a broken hip. 16. Michael Landon. America once saw him as the perfect father in Little House on the Prairie. But off-screen, Landon battled alcohol addiction so severe, the crew often had to pause filming. He passed away in 1991 at just 54 from pancreatic cancer. 17. Bernard Lee. As M in the James Bond films, his deep voice and steely gaze commanded respect. But in real life, Bernard drank so heavily he often couldn't find his way home. After his wife died in a car crash, his drinking worsened. He died in 1981 at age 73 after a long fight with cancer. 18. William Holden. Who could forget his haunted eyes in Sunset Boulevard or his rebellious charm, but alcohol turned him bitter, isolated, and ultimately led to a tragic end. He died after a drunken fall in his bedroom. 19. Bela Lugosi. The original Dracula, his haunting stare defined a generation's image of the vampire. But behind that glare was addiction to alcohol and morphine, which ruined his career and left him dependent on charity. He died in 1956 at age 73, dressed in his Dracula cape. 20. Leonard Nimoy. That calm, steady voice of Spock instantly brings Star Trek memories flooding back. But in the early years of filming, Leonard quietly battled alcohol, with every scene a fight against himself. He passed in 2015 at age 83 due to lung complications. 21. Jonathan Winters. If you ever laughed out loud at his wild performance in It's a Mad, 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 Mad World, it's hard to imagine how deeply he struggled. Winters had bipolar disorder, and alcohol only made things worse. He was hospitalized in a psychiatric ward after long periods of drinking. He passed away in 2013 at age 87. 22. Robin Williams. He was pure energy in Mrs. Doubtfire and Dead Poets Society, making audiences laugh and cry in equal measure. But behind every performance was a quiet war with alcohol. Robin once admitted that just one drink could send him spiraling. He died in 2014 at age 63 after battling a neurodegenerative disease. 23. Rita Hayworth. Her kiss in Gilda defined golden age glamour. But behind the lights was a woman who drank to forget the pain of childhood abuse, eventually leading to early onset memory loss. Rita passed away in 1987 at age 68 after a long fight with Alzheimer's. 24. Sterling Hayden. Audiences admired him as the cool, commanding lead in The Asphalt Jungle. Off-screen, Hayden drank as a form of rebellion against Hollywood, authority, and even himself. He died in 1986 at age 70 from prostate cancer. 25. Broderick Crawford. Fame came fast with an Oscar for All the King's Men, but it faded just as quickly once alcohol took over. His unpredictable behavior pushed Hollywood away, and he spent his final years doing small TV roles. Broderick died in 1986 at age 74, long trapped in the shadow of his former glory. 26. Robert Mitchum. His half-drunk, smoldering stare made hearts race and out of the past. In real life, he was once arrested for drug use, but alcohol was the addiction that quietly chipped away at his relationships and star power. Mitchum died in 1997 at age 79 from lung cancer. 27. John Wayne. The ultimate cowboy and American icon, striding through the searchers and true grit with rugged confidence. But off-camera, Wayne often drank all night, then showed up on set the next morning. He passed in 1979 at age 72 from stomach cancer. 28. Jane Russell. Known for her bold, unconventional beauty in Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, she was the sharp, sexy star of the 50s. But Jane battled alcohol addiction, once clashing with co-stars and spending many lonely nights drinking. She died in 2011 at age 89, later dedicating her life to Christian rehab work, perhaps seeking redemption. 29. Alan Ladd. Short in stature, but with soul in his eyes, he moved audiences in Shane and countless dark film noirs. Yet alcohol led him into a spiral of deep depression. Ladd died in 1964 at just 50 years old. 30. Robert Shaw. His role as Quentin Jaws made him a cinematic legend, gruff, fearless, unforgettable. But Shaw drank so heavily that director Steven Spielberg had to halt shooting just to wait for him to sober up. He died in 1978 at age 51 after a heart attack while driving home. 31. Larry Hagman. Anyone who watched Dallas remembers the sly grin of Jay. R. Ewing, the villain you loved to hate. Off-screen, Hagman once drank up to 4 bottles of champagne a day and nearly died of liver failure before receiving a transplant in 1995. He passed away in 2012 at age 81 from cancer. 32. Orson Welles. A prodigy whose Citizen Kane changed cinema forever. Welles was both a creative genius and a man haunted by his need for control and recognition. Alcohol became his closest companion, distancing him from major projects. He even got drunk while filming a wine commercial and forgot his lines. Welles died in 1985 at age 70. 33. Montgomery Clift. His delicate beauty and tormented soul in A Place in the Sun once left Hollywood breathless. After a devastating car crash, Clift turned to alcohol and isolated himself in a dark apartment for years. He died of a heart attack in 1966 at just 45. 34. Joan Crawford. With her steely gaze and commanding presence in Mildred Pierce, she was a legend of the Golden Age. But behind the scenes, Joan drowned in booze, terrified her children, and became the chilling inspiration for Mommy Dearest. She passed in 1977 at age 69 from a sudden heart attack. 35. Elizabeth Taylor. Her rare violet eyes and timeless beauty made her a symbol of fierce feminine independence. Yet Taylor struggled with severe alcoholism, checked into rehab multiple times, and once disrupted sets with her erratic behavior. She died in 2011 at age 79. 36. Tallulah Bankhead. Her husky voice and rebellious flair made her an icon of early American stage and film. Tallulah was famous for endless parties and drinking like water so much that she was once banned from TV for slurring inappropriate lines on air. She died in 1968 at age 66 from pneumonia. 37. Oliver Reed. Bold, brawny, and magnetic, Reed lit up British cinema and Gladiator alike. He once took on a drinking contest with the Royal Navy of Malta and died shortly after his heart couldn't take a lifetime of hard living. He passed in 1999 at age 61 while filming Gladiator. 38. Richard Harris. From Camelot to Harry Potter, Harris brought aristocratic elegance mixed with a rebel spirit. He once turned a hotel into his personal party fortress, drinking so heavily he lost roles, friends, and nearly his life. He died in 2002 at age 72, just weeks after filming Dumbledore. 39. Errol Flynn. Dashing, wild, and unapologetic, Flynn was the most seductive Robin Hood ever on screen. In real life, he lived like his roles, drinking, womanizing, and partying so hard a doctor once called him the oldest 30-year-old. When he was only 50. Flynn died in 1959 from a heart attack. 40. W. C. Fields. One of the great comedic actors of early Hollywood, famous for playing characters who hated kids and Christmas. Fields famously hid whiskey bottles inside stage props and drank during performances. He died in 1946 at age 66 from a bleeding ulcer. 41. Gig Young. He won an Oscar for They Shoot Horses, Don't They Then quietly slipped into addiction and mental illness. Fired from multiple sets for being drunk, Young ended his life and that of his young wife in a final spiral of paranoia. 42. Ethel Barrymore. She was Broadway royalty, hailed as the First Lady of American theater. But during wartime, grief drove Ethel into a quiet struggle with alcoholism and depression. She passed away in 1959 at age 79, having lived her later years in solitude. 43. John Barrymore. Dubbed the most handsome man of the silent film era, he blazed the trail for the Barrymore dynasty. But John drank until he collapsed on stage. Co-stars once had to slap him awake mid-performance. He died in 1942 at age 60 from advanced cirrhosis. 44. Clara Bow. Hollywood's original It Girl, Clara embodied the wild spirit of the Roaring '20s. Yet behind her spark was a woman haunted by fame, alcohol, and eventual psychosis. She withdrew from the spotlight in the 1940s and died in 1965 at age 60. 45. Humphrey Bogart. With a cigarette on his lip and that gravelly voice in Casablanca, he was the definition of old-school masculinity. But Bogart drank constantly. Doctors once told him to switch to beer to spare his liver. He passed in 1957 at age 57 from esophageal cancer. 46. Richard Pryor. A groundbreaking voice in black comedy, Pryor's brutal honesty lit up every stage. In real life, he once set himself on fire while freebasing cocaine and drinking, then turned it into a punchline in his next show. He died in 2005 at age 65 from complications of multiple sclerosis. 47. Dean Martin. The effortlessly cool crooner of the Rat Pack, with a voice as smooth as whiskey and a swagger to match. Martin drank on stage and off, so convincingly that no one could tell where the act ended and the addiction began. He died in 1995 at age 78 from lung cancer. 48. Judy Garland. Somewhere Over the Rainbow made her a star, but fame stole her childhood and gave her pills and booze in return. pushed to slim down by studios, Judy leaned on alcohol to numb the pain. She died in 1969 at just 47. 49. Marlon Brando. The storm that changed modern acting, A Streetcar Named Desire, The Godfather. Yet Brando drank and ate until he no longer recognized himself, arriving on the set of Apocalypse Now, overweight and out of control. He passed in 2004 at age 80 from respiratory failure. 50. Lindsay Lohan. The bright young star of The Parent Trap seemed destined for greatness. But early fame spiraled into addiction, arrests, and rehab. Her life splashed across tabloids. Now 38, Lindsay is married and living quietly in Dubai, far from the Hollywood glare. 50 names, 50 lives, each one a reminder that behind every red carpet smile, there might be a silent pain. Addiction doesn't spare anyone, not even the famous, the successful, or the wealthy. If these journeys moved you or gave you something to think about, don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more untold stories behind Hollywood's spotlight. Your voice matters, so let it be heard.